Welcome to the line change. Apologies for the lateness on the live stream. I was actually in a stream with Kempner Canucks with Rev Trev, so that's why this was delayed slightly. So I'm wanting to just jump into this. Whoops, I'm gonna go ahead and throw up my notes. Just give me 1 second here. Here we go. So tonight's game, a little bit of doom and gloom for the Vancouver Canucks tonight as they lose by a final score of 5-0. And this was a must win for the Vancouver Canucks here tonight, and they did not come to play. I didn't really see a whole lot of fight for the Canucks whatsoever tonight. And Brev Trevor and I talked about it on his stream, how there was no fight. They didn't show up. And this was a embarrassing loss for the Vancouver Canucks. Let's go ahead and pull it up onto the screen here. Give me 1 sec. There we go. So yeah, let's just go ahead and do like a quick recap of the goals. First goal goes to Seattle Kraken. Michael Eisman scores his 8th of the season at 16:42. It was a wrist shot and it was unassisted, which made it 1-0 Seattle. Not a whole lot going on in the first period. I did write down in my notes that Lekmarmaki had a great chance on the power play, missed the net. Once again, obviously the power play continues to struggle in this game as it has almost all season now. And then obviously on the Isimon goal, an awful turnover by DeBrusk, and you just can't let that happen. That was a big mistake on DeBrusk's part, and it cost us a goal. It got the party started for the Seattle Kraken. Final shots in the first period were 9-7 in favor of Vancouver. Moving on to the second period, Kraken were 0 for 2 on the power play. So that one glimmer of positivity for the Vancouver Canucks is their penalty kill, which continues to impress. Then you got at one point Myers did leave the bench and went to the dressing room, which was obviously scary to see. But he did eventually return. And then you got Chandler Stevenson with his 12th of the season at 9:49, assisted by Burakovsky and Jared McCann. Now, this was a really nice goal by Chandler Stevenson. Part of me does think Demko either should have had that goal or is going to want that one back. As you saw on the goal, Demko backed his way into the net and basically opened himself up for that top corner. And Stevenson, appeared to look like he was going to pass it and instead decided to shoot it. And the puck ended up going into the net. So obviously, Demko, is going to want that one back, and then not long later, you have Shane Wright scoring his 18th of the season at 16 minutes, assisted by McCann and Vince Dunn. So Jared McCann, once again, haunting the Vancouver Canucks with 2 points already in this game. More on him in a little bit. And yeah, so it's 3-0 Seattle. And essentially, nothing was going the Canucks' way in the second period. The final shots on goal were 7 apiece for Seattle and Vancouver. So not a whole lot of offense going on for the Vancouver Canucks in this game or in the second period. Moving down to the third period, you had Andrei Burakovsky scoring his 9th, assisted by Jared McCann. So once again, Jared McCann, a 3-point night, definitely haunting the Vancouver Canucks and their decision to trade him all those years ago. And I've talked about in videos on this channel on how it's starting to look like that was a mistake on the Canucks' part, is parting ways with Jared McCann. And looking like definitely a big mistake on their part, losing a player like him, or rather giving up on him too soon. And then, of course, you had Adam Larson scoring his 7th of the season, an empty net goal at 16-24, assisted by Cartier and Vince Dunn. And that's your final score, 5-0 for the Seattle Kraken in what was a must-win for the Vancouver Canucks. And they get blanked. So obviously there's not too much positivity when it comes to this game. I mentioned in Rev Trev's stream on Kempner Canucks, 5-0 loss to the Seattle Kraken. Did not have that on my bingo card here tonight. I'll tell you that for sure. But final shots in the game were 24-19 in favor of Vancouver. As you can see on the screen there, Vancouver was the better team in the face-off circle. So at least they were better than the Kraken at something tonight. Penalty minutes, 18-10. There's something else that the Canucks were better at than the Kraken at. 30 hits to 15. So 30 hits for the Canucks, 15 hits for the Kraken. Kraken blocked 24 shots here tonight. So perhaps that is a reason why this game went the way it did, because Seattle was blocking a lot of shots. Canucks were trying to shoot from the point, and it was costing them big time as Kraken players just kept on getting in the way of the shots. Giveaways were 12-9 for the Kraken, and then Canucks had 4 takeaways. Kraken had 0. So 0 takeaways, and then looking at the season series down here, so the Seattle Kraken end up winning 3 out of the 4 games that these two teams met. The first game, obviously back in December, was that dreadful game that Canucks were up by 3 and then basically blew the game within a 3-minute span and allowed Seattle to win it. And then the next game, January 2nd, Canucks were actually able to beat the Seattle Kraken 4-3. And then you had the game just about a month ago. Seattle beat the Canucks 6-3, and then here tonight they blanked the Canucks 5-0. So not a whole lot to really discuss here on the live stream. Sorry. There we go. But yeah, bit of a doozy here tonight. Obviously with the loss. Now, I mean, actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and pull up the standings. Maybe they'll show something when it comes to the standings. Sorry, let me just quickly. And let me get this pulled up on the screen. All right, so actually here. There we go. So I know we did a standings video the other day. Yeah, I guess we'll do like a little mini another one for today, as obviously now the Toronto Maple Leafs have clinched. They are now officially in the playoffs. We both knew that the Capitals and Hurricanes had clinched already. In fact, they were the only 2 teams in the East that had been able to officially clinch. And now Toronto joins that by beating Florida earlier tonight. And then moving on to the West, you still have the Jets, the Stars, and then now the Vegas Golden Knights have now clinched a spot in the playoffs at 98 points. And then looking at the wild card, so St. Louis again won. So they have won their last 10 straight, and they are tied in points with Minnesota. As Minnesota did gain a point tonight. They lost to the Rangers in overtime. And So they still gain a point to move into a tie with St. Louis. Calgary is still ahead of us by 1 point with 82, but we've also lost our last two. So essentially, for the Vancouver Canucks, they can't lose again. I mean, tonight's loss could potentially be the final nail in the coffin for the Vancouver Canucks, but they're not mathematically eliminated yet. But if they were to lose one more game, they most certainly would be mathematically eliminated from the playoff and from playoff contention. As the rest of the way, as there's 7 games left in the season, they're going to have to go 7-0 in their next games, in their next 7. And it's a very tall task. They faced Vegas twice. They faced Dallas. They faced Anaheim. And it's just not going to be easy. No, I'm trying to stay positive with it, like I was on Rev Trev's stream, and it's difficult, being positive after watching a game like we saw tonight. Like it's really tough. But hey, it's like what I said on his stream. If I can get through 2011 and the Stanley Cup Finals, that year, I can get through hopefully the rest of this year. But yeah, definitely an embarrassing loss for the Vancouver Canucks tonight. Losing by a score of 5-0 to a team like Seattle, who's already been eliminated. Obviously, Seattle was a lot hungrier than the Canucks were, definitely tonight. And yeah, sorry for the not a whole. I honestly don't have a whole lot, when it comes to this game. It's just absolutely dreadful for the Canucks to play like this. Feel pretty embarrassed by this, honestly. So I'm gonna go and open the floor. If anyone has any comments they want to do, go ahead and drop a comment. If you guys want to ask me any questions pertaining to this game, go right ahead. And yeah, not a whole lot to really talk about other than the goals and basically our disappointment as Canuck fans for this game tonight, and just what this means for the rest of the season. Obviously, I mentioned on Trev's stream that both him and I are going to the game on Saturday, so we'll be running into each other for that game. So it's like what I mentioned on over there. Probably the only real positive going to that game is getting to meet with Rev Trev, and and just being able to actually maybe even just going to a game for once. And it's not really about the result when it comes to the game. It's just going there and having a good time, which is something that I'm hoping for. But yeah, not a whole lot to talk about game-wise. I know this is intended to be a recap video, but there's just not much to talk about when it comes to how this game went. As well, there was no offense for the Vancouver Canucks tonight, so it's not like there's any goals that we can really talk about Canucks related. Obviously, we've talked a little bit about the Seattle goals that were scored, which were really nice goals, especially those 2 goals in particular by Chandler Stevenson and Shane Wright. But yeah, I think I might cut the stream a little short. Again, apologies for the lateness on it. But again, I think right now all we can really do is just do our best to try and stay positive. And as what both me and Rev Trev say, just keep believing in blue. And maybe it's time we just look to next year. And obviously, excuse me, that's a big question mark when it comes to the offseason. Like maybe it's time for us Canuck fans to start looking towards the offseason and what the Canucks might do in the offseason. Obviously, we know they need to address that second line center position. Obviously, now more than ever. I mean, you know, Sam Bennett's been floated around. Like his name's been floated around. We've heard things about Ehlers and whether or not he's an upgrade when it comes to Brock Besser. We've talked about Brock Besser and whether or not he might walk at the end, especially with, you know, all that talk about, you know, around the deadline and how Besser, you know, is, you know, the Canucks were looking to use him as their own rental. Well, they're not making the play. Their playoff chances are very grim, if not none, you know, at this point. So if you end up letting him walk, I mentioned in a previous video that, you know, it would be a bad move on the Canucks management if they let Brock walk for free. And, you know, that still applies, you know, even with the Canucks eliminated and with them having not done anything at the deadline. Sure, they could still possibly try and trade Besser or at least package him, maybe with their first round draft pick at the draft and get that second line center. But I guess we'll see. But definitely tonight, much like the game against Columbus and then the game against the Jets, definitely put a nail in the coffin for sure. We knew this was a must-win game, and the Canucks just couldn't get it done. And they may very well have ended their playoff chances, at least for the remainder of this season. And it makes you wonder if the Canucks are mathematically eliminated, do they rest Quinn Hughes? Do they have him maybe sit out a game or two? Especially if, these games don't mean anything for them. But, that's going to do it for the live stream. Thank you for joining, those of you that have, and I'll see you guys in the next video.